If you've never heard of it before, Notting Hill Carnival is a street festival that happens in Notting Hill in London. And it's been around since around 1966, give or take a few years, and it's celebrated on the August bank holiday, the Sunday to the Monday. So it's a 2-day street festival, and it started off originally as a celebration of West Indian culture, the West Indian community that's been a large part of immigration into the UK over the last few decades, and it became one of the biggest events in the Black British culture diary. And in 1959 there was a precursor to this festival that was held indoors, and it was aired by the BBC on television, but it quickly morphed into this outdoor festivals with steel drum bands and dancers and other attendees coming along, and it grew huge, and reggae groups got involved. BBC Radio London covered the festival, and every year it just got bigger and bigger. But in recent years it's taken a dark turn. So things started to go wrong at Notting Hill Carnival when the riots started. There was a Notting Hill riot which took place in 1976. Young black men believed that the police were overusing a law that allowed them to stop and search anyone that they believed might be about to commit a crime. And because of the problems in the black communities regarding crime, many young black men were stopped by the police, meaning that they were suspicious when 3,000 police officers turned up to Notting Hill Carnival. Now, it's believed that the riot was sparked when police officers attempted to arrest a pickpocket, but whatever it was, it caused massive escalation because there were smashed windows, there were fires, and there were bricks and bottles and all sorts being used as missiles to throw at the police. And it just descended into absolute chaos. Now, look forward to the future. In 2014, things really weren't much better. We're talking decades later, because in 2014, 3 men were stabbed in violent clashes at Notting Hill Carnival, and there were 252 arrests over 2 days. That's a lot of people. And then in 2015, 1 year later, more than 400 were arrested and 8 police officers were injured during the street party. So those were the highest numbers of arrests at this carnival since 2008 in 2015. Then in 2016, police officers called for a review. The police officers in London wanted a review of Notting Hill Carnival following record arrests. They saw 43 officers injured in 2016, not too long ago. And the Metropolitan Police Federation said that officers dreaded working at Notting Hill Carnival every year, and who can blame them? Ken Marsh, the chairman of that federation, the MPF, said, "This is not a peaceful and fun-loving event that our members look forward to policing. They dread it. Last year we had an officer stabbed. This year colleagues were assaulted, abused and spat at. 43 were injured, with 8 needing hospital treatment. It's completely and utterly unacceptable." That year, more than 450 arrests were made over 2 days. And in 2017, there were still more than 300 arrests and 28 police officers injured. And police officers have been repeatedly sexually assaulted, yes, sexually assaulted, at these street carnivals. And no doubt it's because of fear of being accused of racism or some kind of cultural sensitivity. Nothing seems to happen to the people that do it to the police officers. And I might add, there are some police officers that happily get involved with it, which I really don't think helps this situation. But look at this video, you'll probably remember it actually. It's a man sexually thrusting himself against a female police officer, and then he just walks away and gets away with it. Watch this. This year has not been any better for this family-friendly, fun street festival. Look at the footage from this year. Look at this footage that shows zero respect being shown for the police. And crime has increased at the festival over 2 days by 33%, with almost 400 arrests being made and 49 knives seized amidst Sadiq Khan's London's knife crisis. The Express reported on this. At 10:15 p.m. on Bank Holiday Monday, the Met confirmed it had made 133 arrests on Sunday and a further 240 arrests on Monday, 10 of which were made by the British Transport Police. However, the force said Monday's celebrations were marred by the only stabbing of the event, which involved a male receiving non-life-threatening injuries. I guess we're meant to consider that a win. It was only one stab and he wasn't killed by it. The force had a record number of 7,000 officers policing the event. Some form the newly formed Violent Crime Task Force. This year's event also saw the highest number of frontline officers deployed in over 6 years, the Met confirmed. Scotland Yard also confirmed that 156 were detained on drug offences, 69 were held over suspicion of possessing weapons, 9 were arrested on suspicion for sexual offences, which is quite low considering what usually happens at this place, and the police seized knives, they seized taser guns and metal poles. And not only that, by the way, because Twitter is full of stuff that you should take a look at that shows you what it's like living in this area. People had to erect barriers to protect their properties. The article here says they're millionaires, but so what? A millionaire who spends millions on a house doesn't deserve to have their property trashed. They had to erect barriers to protect their properties, which happens every year. Windows have to be, boarded up. Police carried acid attack kits just in case, and they had to install knife archers. And then there's local people advising people to stay at home in order to stay safe. Chaos erupted in shops and cafes. Take a look at this. People are terrified in their own homes, this tweet shows, and the police are also abused. Have a look at this. I have to ask, even if this makes me the bad guy, does this look like a family-friendly event to you? We can't save Notting Hill Carnival. It's grown into a monster, and I think it's time to slay it. Street carnivals like this have been banned before on the grounds of public order and safety. It's not a crazy concept to suggest that we get rid of this thing. And I think after many years of causing absolute chaos, where police officers and civilians have been assaulted and even stabbed on the streets, it's time to look at how we solve this problem. And we can look at fairs and carnivals that have been cancelled before for these reasons. In fact, there's lots of precedent for it. There was a charter fair called the Bartholomew Fair that was cancelled back in 1855 for causing debauchery. The fair had feasts, it had dwarves, it had dancing bears, it had puppet shows, the lot. It sounded pretty great, to be honest. It certainly sounds better than Notting Hill. But it caused loutishness, drunkenness, and it attracted thieves and criminals. It became chaotic pretty quickly, so ultimately it was shut down. I think that's pretty reasonable, but really this boils down to the fact that those celebrating the event, those attending, it was their responsibility to be decent, responsible citizens, and they utterly failed, so it's really their own fault that it got shut down. And I see parallels from this with Notting Hill Carnival. Today, I see people failing to maintain basic decency and civility at Notting Hill Carnival. It's full of criminals, it encourages loutish behaviour, it's crude, it's noisy, it's messy, and it makes a mockery of London's great history. Is this what it's come down to after thousands of years of great civilization? I think it's time for Notting Hill Carnival to go. Catch up with all the Rebel stories on our brand new app, which you can download now from the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.